Hey everyone, welcome to This Explainer. I'm so glad you're joining us today because we're tackling something that honestly stresses almost everyone out at some point, but it really doesn't have to. We're talking about budgeting. We're going to dive right into the beginner's guide to budgeting, and we'll see exactly how to take all that baseline financial chaos and transform it into a rock-solid foundation for lasting growth. Let's get into it. So, where did all my money go? Honestly, how many times have you asked yourself that exact question? It's such a common and, frankly, deeply painful feeling. You work hard, you get paid, and then somehow, almost like magic, you're right back to living paycheck to paycheck, just sitting there wondering how the math doesn't add up. It's frustrating, right? And it carries this massive mental weight. But I really want to validate right now that you are absolutely not alone here. This is actually a systemic issue with how we're taught, or honestly not taught, to handle our finances. Here is our roadmap for today. First, we'll look at the saving struggle, then why we overspend. Third, we'll cover budgeting as the ultimate solution, followed by the steps to start budgeting, and finally, building financial growth. All right, section 1, the savings struggle. Okay, so before we can actually fix the problem of an empty bank account, we kind of need to explore the reality of why we fail to save money in the first place. There are 3 main pitfalls here, and they're incredibly subtle. First up is a lack of tracking. You see, human beings are notoriously bad at mental accounting. We think we know roughly what we spend on groceries or entertainment, but studies consistently show we underestimate our casual spending by a solid 20 to 30%. If you aren't rigorously watching where the money goes, you literally cannot plug the leaks. Second is impulse spending. And wow, this has never been easier than it is right now. Modern commerce is entirely designed to remove friction from buying things. Think about Apple Pay, one-click ordering, targeted social media ads. They literally hijack our brain's reward system. That quick tap for a coffee or a late-night online purchase, it delivers a microdose of dopamine. In the moment, a $5 or $20 expense feels totally negligible, but the math is entirely unforgiving, and those frictionless moments compound into thousands of dollars of lost wealth over a single year. And the third pitfall? Simply not having a clear plan. Without a designated purpose for every single dollar, your money just wanders off, usually getting completely absorbed by lifestyle creep. If you just leave money sitting around in your checking account, you will unconsciously find a way to spend it. It's incredibly easy to fall into these traps. Moving on to section 2, why we overspend. Let's take a second to look at the emotional and psychological reality of how we handle those pitfalls. When you operate with no plan, you're essentially guaranteeing a life of impulse spending and just ongoing financial chaos. Think about the mental toll this takes. It's that classic Sunday night dread. It's that tiny, sharp spike of anxiety you feel when you swipe your debit card at the grocery store, just kind of silently praying it isn't declined. Operating without a plan means you are basically a passenger in your own financial life. You're just reacting to emergencies rather than preventing them. And honestly, it's exhausting. But let's contrast that with operating under a clear plan. A clear plan leads directly to intentional spending and ultimately a profound sense of peace of mind. Now notice we are not judging past overspending here. We have all been there, for sure. We're just comparing the daily grinding stress of winging it against the sheer empowerment that comes from knowing exactly what your money is doing. Having a clear plan means you get to sit in the driver's seat. It means when an unexpected car repair pops up, it's just an inconvenience, not a full-blown crisis. Which brings us to section 3, budgeting, the ultimate solution. So this is where we introduce the practical tool to conquer that chaos once and for all. But first, we really need to reframe the concept itself. Because for so many of us, the word budget feels like a dirty word, right? It sounds like a restrictive financial diet, a chore, or even a punishment for past mistakes. We tend to think a budget means we can literally never go out to dinner again, or that we're going to have to track every single penny in some massive, super confusing spreadsheet. But we really have to shift that mindset entirely. A budget is actually an empowering roadmap. It's the ultimate foundation for financial growth. A budget doesn't tell you that you can't spend money. Rather, it gives you explicit permission to spend it intentionally, guilt-free, on the things that actually matter to you. Think about it this way. If you allocate a specific amount of money for dining out at the beginning of the month, you can go to that restaurant, order what you want, and enjoy every single bite without a shred of guilt. Why? Because you already decided that's exactly what that money was for. It completely transforms your relationship with spending, from one of anxiety into one of total confidence. Let's look at section 4, steps to start budgeting. So how do we actually go about building this roadmap? Well, the beginner's guide breaks this down into 4 highly accessible linear steps. Step 1 is simple, track your income. you need to know exactly how much fuel is going into the tank. And to be clear, we're talking about your net income here, the actual tangible cash that hits your bank account after all the taxes and deductions. Step 2. Identify your impulse spending. Some people call this the cringe audit. You really just need to sit down, pull up your bank statements from the last 30 days, and look at exactly where your money went. You've got to highlight the subscriptions you forgot about, the endless takeout orders, all the random online purchases. You basically have to face the reality of your habits if you're going to change them. Then, step 3. Set a clear plan. This right here is the core of the work. You need to give every single dollar a specific job before the month even begins. This is often called zero-based budgeting, where your income minus your expenses should equal exactly zero. Now, that doesn't mean your bank account is empty. It just means every dollar is assigned to a category, whether that's rent, groceries, a fund, or savings. And finally, step 4, allocate for growth. Budgeting isn't just about paying bills, it's about paying your future self. You absolutely must prioritize allocating a portion of your money to actively work for your future, whether that means building up an emergency fund, investing, or finally paying down that high-interest debt. Walking through these steps really prevents cognitive overload and proves that taking control of your finances is highly, highly achievable. And finally, Section 5, building financial growth. Once you actually put those steps into motion, you end up creating this beautifully balanced financial ecosystem. A highly effective and pretty famous framework for this is the 50-30-20 rule. This structure elegantly allocates your money across 3 main categories to foster true financial growth, but importantly, without making you feel deprived. Here is how it works. 50% of your after-tax income goes toward your needs. These are the absolute essentials: your housing, groceries, basic utilities, transportation, and your minimum debt payments. Essentially, these are the non-negotiables for survival. Then 30% is dedicated to your wants. And honestly, this part is crucial. A healthy budget includes fun. This is your dining out, your hobbies, streaming subscriptions, vacations. By capping it at 30%, you ensure you actually get to enjoy your life today without sabotaging your tomorrow. Finally, the remaining 20% is strictly for savings and debt payoff. This is your growth engine. This 20% is what builds that emergency fund, so you never have to put a surprise medical bill on a credit card. It's what goes straight into your retirement accounts. Now, quick caveat. If you live in a really high-cost area, your needs might be higher than 50%. And you know what? That is completely okay. The 50-30-20 rule is a North Star. It's a benchmark to strive for. The ultimate goal is just to ensure you aren't just surviving, but that you are actively and intentionally building wealth. When you really think about it, it all comes down to a singular focus. It only takes one clear plan to completely transform your relationship with money. Seriously, you don't need a degree in advanced finance. You definitely do not need to wait until you have some massive 6-figure salary to finally stop living paycheck to paycheck. The math scales perfectly, whether you're making $30,000 a year or $300,000. You really just need one budget, one roadmap, and one intentional step forward to break the cycle. Which leads me to this final question I really want you to ponder today. What will your very first financial goal be? Will it be building a tiny emergency fund of maybe just $500? Or maybe finally paying off that one lingering credit card balance that's been stressing you out? Or, hey, maybe it's just committing to tracking your spending for a single eye-opening week. Whatever it is, you now have the exact framework you need to make it happen. Start small, take control, and watch your financial foundation grow. Thanks so much for diving into this explainer with me, and happy budgeting.